Welcome to the Wonder With Me podcast, where I, Dr. Tonia Winchester, invite you to get curious with me about all things mind-body healing, especially how we can unlock the incredible healing power of our unconscious minds, so that we can all get out of stress mode and go back into healing mode. We'll talk about how you can easily create healthy, sustainable self-care habits so that you can calm your mind, sleep deeply, wake rested, and enjoy happy, energized days. Ultimately, so that you can make a bigger difference in your well-being and that of your family and the world around you. These casual chats are for educational purposes only and don't constitute a therapeutic relationship. With all that said, let's get this episode underway. Come wonder with me. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. I am your hostess, Dr. and/or Coach Tonia Winchester, and this is episode 44. Choosing sustainability over discomfort. So this episode was inspired, as many of the things that I like to share publicly online are inspired by conversations with people that I'm working with, clients and patients, because there's such good fodder for messages and opportunities to learn. And one of the things about the Wonder With Me podcast is this is the place where we turn little life moments into big life lessons, hopefully lessons and learnings that you can then incorporate, and if they feel good and helpful and resonate, into your own life. So I'm not going to describe the conversation here in this preamble because I'll just talk about it in the episode. So with all of that being said, let's get into it. Let's get wondering. Okay, so this patient I wanted to just say months, but truly it's been years, has been coming into my office and complaining about her body weight and how she keeps trying to do the right things and go on these specific diets and nothing really changes over time. A common story for sure among a lot of the people that I work with. Interestingly, she's never specifically asked me for help in this area, and I'm not really keen on giving unsolicited advice. And you might hear the tone of laughter in my voice because here I am on my podcast, and I'm just sharing experiences, though. I don't really consider myself to be giving advice. I'm just sharing things. If they resonate and land, great, take them on. If not, leave them behind. Totally fine. But within the last 3 or 4 months, let's say, she came in for a visit and she looked at me and she said, "Gosh, you're looking good. You've lost a lot of weight. What are you doing?" And as a common question, I usually will actually express to people that it's something important that I did, which was get trauma out of my physiology that my body was holding on to as stress-related weight gain. And also, I have very good habits. She specifically asked me, "What are your habits around food?" I shared that for the last 20 years, since starting in naturopathic college and being a naturopathic doctor and a patient in the journey of life, that I have carefully curated what my body wants to eat and what type of activity it likes. I primarily do this through an eating program, which is my favorite food as medicine eating program that I've come across in 17 years of practice so far. It was something I was introduced to about 10 years ago. It's called The Metabolism Plan by Lynn Janae Rositas. I will link this up in the show notes. This is not the first time I've talked about it. I shared a little bit about how the system works with the patient. She was very inspired. She went away. She came back with the book. She said, "I already had the book. You'd mentioned it to me about 3 years ago." And her argument and theory in the book is very compelling. And I agreed. I said it's very compelling. We finished our session that day. She went away. The next time I saw her, she came back. And the first thing she does is pulls out her phone and shows me pictures. She says, "Look at how thin my face looked. Look at how clear my skin was." And I said, "Wow, yeah, look at that." And she said, "This was only after 2 weeks of the metabolism plan." I was like, "Awesome, amazing, congratulations." And then she said, "But I had to quit because it's just not sustainable." Before I go on with this story, I want to talk a little bit about how this program works. It's the most genius thing I've come across because it's individualized nutrition and eating. Lynn Janae has figured out there's certain foods that we consider to be healthy that are actually really pro-inflammatory and hence disease-causing in a lot of people. Examples include oatmeal, salmon, asparagus, Greek yogurt, cauliflower, black beans, turkey, etc. And you hear those foods and you're like, no way those foods are unhealthy. Those are healthy foods. And that's true. But according to her data of thousands of clients that she's worked with and thousands of book readers that she's had, only 15% of people respond healthfully, favorably when they eat those foods. 85% of people will actually increase inflammation in their bodies and gain weight when they eat those foods. Since being introduced to it 10 years ago, this system has changed the life of many of my patients, as well as me and several of my family members. In her book, she talks you through a 20-day eating program, which is a strategic way of eliminating problematic foods and introducing new foods to find out what your body likes or doesn't like. And the way that you're able to figure this out, because you know what, it is really hard to look at a diet diary and figure out what foods are triggering any of your health problems. And that's because sometimes the way that the immune system reacts to foods, it can take up to 3 to 5 days to express a food reaction as a symptom. So that headache, that skin rash, that acne, that joint pain, that digestive discomfort, that XYZ could have been something you ate last week. So it's really hard to look back and be like, well, was it the tomato or was it the cheese? It's really hard to say. So she has codified this by helping people understand that when they eat foods that are reactive to their bodies, there's going to be something objectively measurable that happens the next day, which is your weight goes up. Now, I used to dissuade people from a daily weigh because it would make or break their day psychologically, emotionally. Oh my gosh, I'm up 3 pounds. I'm a terrible person. No, you're up 3 pounds because you ate a food that your body doesn't like. And what happens biochemically is that reactivity is going to generate histamine in the body, and histamine is basically going to promote fluid retention, and that fluid retention can be weighed. It has a mass. This is genius. So now the daily weigh is just data. It just becomes a sign, a signal that what you did the day before, how you ate, how you moved, how you rested, how you slept, how you stressed, was working or not working for you. Serendipitously, since my own weight release journey started 3 years ago, when I originally didn't have a weight target that I was aiming for, but then when I started releasing weight and seeing how fun it was and how easy it was, I did create a target for myself, which I have surpassed. And so then I created another target, which I met today. This is actually coincidentally episode 44, day 44 of me being a patient on the metabolism plan. I got there. Now, after confessing all of the positive results that this person was getting on the metabolism plan, she then says, but I had to quit after 2 weeks because it's just not sustainable. And in all frankness, sometimes I can be a bit sassy with people when they drop limiting beliefs like this one. It's just not sustainable. Thousands and thousands of people are sustaining this way of eating all over the world. And then I cheekily said, well, if you're choosing to say that this program is not sustainable, what you're choosing to say is sustainable is all of the symptoms and discomfort and pain and weight gain and inability to release weight that you are wanting to change. Woof, as I like to say. What you are choosing to sustain are these problems. Woof. Now, I know this is not the only way to create a healthy body, and we're talking today very biochemically and very physically. If we think of the 4 levels of health: biochemical, physical, emotional, mental. We are working at the bottom of the pyramid here. The inverted pyramid, to be clear. I'll share a graphic. So there's more than one way to climb a mountain. There's more than one eating program out there. I like this one because it teaches you how to individualize any eating program to your own physiology. The thing with this person, though, is she keeps trying things and then giving up on things. This is a pattern for her because she has been having this conversation with me for several years. I don't know how many times I've heard her say, I've just got to get back on. I've just got to restart. I've just got to. And really what needs to happen is getting herself through the discomfort of change. This is not a question of sustainability. Having a body that is uninflamed, that is healthy, health-promoting, balanced, is the most sustainable thing I can do as I age, and I think that's true for most folks. That's sustainability, is having a body that you can rely on and trust and is vitalized and energized and has the endurance and the flexibility and the strength to age gracefully and basically do whatever you want to do whenever you want to do it. That, to me, is what I would call sustainable. What's not sustainable is starting a new program every month and giving up after 2 weeks. That's just going to create a continuation of the same loop and the same cycle, ongoing, forever. It's the pattern that's not sustainable. It's not the individual diet and eating program. It's the pattern of choosing to avoid discomfort. That's what's not sustainable. When we are deciding to do things differently in our health and in our lives, there is going to be a lag where it feels like garbage. There is going to be a period of time where we want to toss in the towel because it is absolutely turning our lives upside down. Our routine is disordered and unbalanced. It feels like everything is chaos. Take a breath, because this is normal. You are repatterning neural pathways as you build new habits, whether it's food or exercise or hydrating or setting boundaries or thinking kindly, getting to bed on time. It's going to be rough at first, and I hate to be the bearer of this bad news, but this is just neurologically true. Our unconscious minds will always choose the path of least resistance. Our unconscious minds will choose what is comfortable, even if in the long term it's uncomfortable. So our bodies choose comfort over long-term sustainability when we're trying to make healthy changes. This is something important to intellectually know so that when it happens, which it will, you can face it and say, oh, yeah, this is uncomfortable because I'm changing. Good for me. Keep going. Things that we can keep going with are sustainable. You know, we're not looking at 20 days of our lives ahead. As an example, this program is 20 to 30 days. I'm, in my mind, looking ahead at 80-year-old Tonia. I want to be still salsa dancing. I want to be speaking on stages. I want to be out there impacting the world in a positive way as long as I can, for as long as I'm able. That requires that current Tonia does future Tonia, all of the solids, by moving through the discomfort of something new so that I can create a sustainable rhythm out of it. This is the third time that I've done this program. This is the first time that I've done it for this long. The first time I was introduced to this program, it was called The Plan back then, and a patient brought it to me, a patient who was gaining weight while she was eating brown rice, chicken, and lettuce, and was miserable, and she said, I'm finally losing weight on the plan. And I crossed my arms and I furrowed my brow and I said, what is this garbage? What is this stupid trend? What is this fad? Only eating white foods on Tuesdays or something stupid? And yet I went to chapters and flipped through because I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, and I was like, this is actually the most genius thing I've ever come across. I'm going to do this. And so I did the 20 days. My body at that point, 10 years ago, released 10 pounds. About a year later, I did it again because I slipped out of the habit of it and regained what I had lost. Same result. And then the period of time with the stress and the weight gain, and you've heard the story a million times. Go back to episode 3 for the full story. And today being day 44 of round 3. So this is, like I say, the longest I've ever done it. And I will say that I feel like just right now, 45 almost days in, I feel like I'm finally getting a handle on how I'm planning my meals and getting the right balance in place. Was every day of those 44 days uncomfortable? No. Were many of them? Yes. Why? Because I was learning. I was being stretched, not physically. I was being stretched mentally to, how can I make this new system work for me? I want to keep this going because I feel so good. I feel so alive. My brain is sharp. My body is agile. I feel amazing. And that sustainability is there now because I had to move through the discomfort of it at the beginning. It's making sense, isn't it? What I really want you to get out of this is that we often will throw our hands up and quit on things that we begin, even though they're really helpful and we're getting visible and tangible results like this person was. And yet we say things like it's not sustainable. And I really challenge you to pause and stop and ask, is this a question of sustainability? Or is this a question of discomfort? Now, the second question I want you to be curious about from this episode is, if you're choosing that something is unsustainable, what is it that you're choosing is sustainable? What are you sustaining instead? Yes, that is a gulp question, a frying pan to the face moment of, holy F, what am I sustaining? I'm going to leave this episode here with that gut hitting question, and I want to thank you so much for being here and thank you so much for listening. If any of this is landing with you or if it's triggering you, awesome, pay attention to that. There's learning there. But if you think you need some help with any of the things that I've been covering today, please do reach out at toniawinchester.com. That page has a whole slew of ways that we can work together. There's things like the shift session and the lift session and a breakthrough. And of course, in my naturopathic practice, if you are local to me in British Columbia. Lastly, I've never mentioned this on my podcast before, but I'm going to start mentioning it. I do have a free downloadable audio for our listeners, and it is available at coach.toniawinchester.com/listeners, and it's a hypnosis visual audio experience to invite you to release some negative emotions out of your physiology that might be holding you back from moving through the discomfort to create sustainable ways of being and living and healing. So I invite you to check that out. Again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being curious about your health, your well-being, about wholeness and healing. Take good care. I will see you in the next episode. And in the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true. Hey, thanks for wondering with me today. If you've got something good out of this, then please forward this episode along to the people who you know could benefit. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're really keen, you leaving us a rating and review helps us to help more people, so thank you in advance for that. If you're wanting more insights about how you can leverage the power of your unconscious mind to go back into healing mode, head on over to toniawinchester.com, where you'll find my book, Breakthrough the Insomnia Cycle, and other helpful ideas. Thanks again, and we'll connect on the next episode of the Wonder With Me podcast. In the meantime, may you choose to make all of your dreams come true.